with the 12th president of Morehouse College, Dr. David Anthony Thomas, stepping down after a historic tenure. Morehouse launched a national search for its new leader. The result? The return of one of its own. Dr. F. Dubois Bowman, a proud 1992 Morehouse graduate, former dean of public health at the University of Michigan, a renowned researcher, and a proud member of the Psi chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, now sits at the helm as president of the college. Today, the Maroon Tiger sits down with President Bowman to dive in deeper about his leadership philosophy, vision, and the future of Morehouse College amid our ever-changing world. President Bowman, how are you doing today?
Doing great. It's such a pleasure to be here to sit down with you in conversation.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. How does it feel coming back home, first NSO back as president? How's it feel?
Yes. There's been a range of emotions since the announcement of being named the 13th president. The first, I would say, was one of humility, being honored just to be able to come back and serve an institution that has meant so much to me and has given so much to me, not only during my college careers, but over my career and lifetime since then. So it's been amazing. I also have the privilege of being a two-time Morehouse parent.
Wow.
I have a son who graduated in the class of 2024, a son who now is a sophomore at the college. And so I have participated in new student orientation, NSO, since my time as a freshman, but coming back, looking through the lens as president was just an overwhelming and amazing experience.
Absolutely. I think that's a great segue into my first question. As you know, the College Student Ambassadors Program, they highlight the Why Morehouse moment on tours. And so what was your Why Morehouse moment as a student and now as a president?
Sure. I'm going to separate your question as I think about why Morehouse that brought me to Morehouse, but then as a student from my experience, what I would say through a student lens to other prospective students of why Morehouse. Why Morehouse for me, as I was coming in as a prospective student, there was the brotherhood, and there's no place like Morehouse really in the country where you have an institution focused on educating Black men and being able to develop and cultivate those connections, those ties, the brotherly bonds that exist. And so that was a part of what brought me to Morehouse as a prospective student. What I would say from my student experience, though, I would extend that. So it does include the brotherhood, but being a student here, graduating, going on to further my education at a master's and doctoral level and beyond, the confidence that Morehouse instilled in me is something that I value and cherished. And the confidence stemmed really from the excellence that Morehouse demands. And unlike any experience that I had before, the faculty here, the students who I was studying with pushed me to go deeper and to be better than good, right? To really try to reach and realize my full potential. So that would also be a part of my why. Now thinking about as president, why did I come back? And that is one where I would say it's really a commitment to an institution that has given so much for me, and a sense of gratitude. And now as an accomplished academic leader, thinking about the work that I do at this stage and beyond and how I want to devote and allocate that work, there's nothing more meaningful to me than Morehouse College.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Now, you talked a lot about brotherhood, community, learning valuable lessons throughout those times that ultimately shaped you coming here. And so if you could, what's one lesson that has really guided your leadership journey up to this point, if you can?
Yeah, I've had many lessons that I've learned through my leadership journey. And I'm going to actually point to something that is a really important quality, but it's often an overlooked quality. And that is the quality of listening. And listening is something that I think just personally for me is just a part of my style and approach from a family perspective, something that was rooted in me by parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles and other relatives and members of the community throughout spaces that I've been in, both professionally I'm trained in the area of statistics and biostatistics, and it's a really useful skill in pursuing collaborations, but it's also so important for leadership. Yeah. And I'm one that believes that the best ideas don't solely come from leaders, right? The best ideas come from the communities that leaders serve in. And so having that approach, that orientation to be able to engage in conversation, to co-create, but starting with listening is something that has been a really valuable lesson and tool for me.
Wonderful. Now, you talked about, in that same one, you just talked about how the leader, it's not necessarily the leaders that produce certain things, but often the community. And so here at Morehouse, a lot of people often focus on the success of a Morehouse man. But could you tell me, what are your thoughts, what are your plans on helping faculty and staff shape the next generation of leaders that are coming through these gates?
Yeah. So the experiences that I've had at Morehouse, the faculty played such a critical role.
Yeah.
I have countless stories of situations where I feel like faculty saw something in me that was beyond what I currently saw in myself. Yeah. And it was their charge to be able to pull that out of me. So faculty is something that, as a body collectively, that is such a incredibly valuable resource for Morehouse, and something that we have to continue to support. Our current faculty, we have to be aggressive about talent acquisition, acquiring new faculty to make sure that that it remains a top-notch asset for the college. And so I will, in my approach here at Morehouse College as the 13th president, I will begin doing a listening tour and engaging various stakeholders, but look forward to, and I have already begun this to some degree, but we'll look forward to engaging faculty more.
Wonderful. And now to slightly shift, talking a lot about Morehouse and your plans coming back. As you know, in today's higher ed landscape, costs and career outcomes, they waver on different families. And so how do you plan to make Morehouse not just, just a prestigious choice, but also a practical one and an attainable one for a wider range of students?
It's a wonderful question. The cost of higher education as a whole is something that is concerning to me. Yeah. I've seen, just over the years, the costs continue to soar, and not just from a profit lens for institutions, but it takes a lot to run an institution to make sure that institutions are resourced in a way to be able to deliver high quality education to the students. But how do we do both of those things? Deliver that high quality educational experience, but at an affordable cost. Morehouse College right now would love to have costs contained more. We do fall below the average, the national average and the national median for other four-year liberal arts colleges, which I'm pleased at, but it is still something that I think not just Morehouse College, but higher education as a whole has to figure out how to grapple with. As president, one of the things that's going to be important to me is to ensure that whatever that cost of attendance is, whatever is needed to make sure that we can continue to run and function well as an institution, that does not serve as a barrier for talent. We want to make sure that for all of those talented prospective students out there for whom Morehouse would be a place that they can come and grow, contribute to, and thrive, that cost is not a barrier to attendance. And so what that translates to for me as the 13th president is that I will be very active doing fundraising and making sure that I'm out there meeting with prospective donors, letting them know about the history of Morehouse, the value of Morehouse, and trying to secure contributions that will then be available for our students through scholarship and other kinds of aid.
Got you. And so, if you could, speaking of barriers, what do you think is the most prominent barrier for students, whether that be financial, mentally, educational? What are your thoughts on what are the most prominent barriers?
Yeah, Morehouse is, I'm very pleased to see there are a lot of resources at Morehouse that are available for students to support some of those very things that you mentioned. Our Frederick Douglass Academic Success Center
Yeah.
has one possibility. Academic Works, being able to identify scholarships for our students. But I want to make sure that as president, I'm responsible for continuing to figure out where there's additional need and to make sure that we as an institution continue to grow and evolve in ways that are supportive of our students. So I will comment on some things that I wouldn't declare them as barriers, but they will be still a focus of my attention as I think about operational excellence in trying to pursue continuous improvement in the area of operational excellence. And I say I won't consider those and articulate those as barriers, in part because of the spirit of men of Morehouse. Men of Morehouse are resilient.
Yes.
Men of Morehouse have resolve.
Yes.
Men of Morehouse persevere. So even in the face of challenge, I fully expect men of Morehouse to continue to do what they have been doing for decades and to figure a pathway towards success. Yet, as the leader of the institution, I want to make sure that I can do what I can to be able to increase efficiency, to make sure that we have the operations and the support to assist and facilitate the journey of our students along the way.
Absolutely. And so now you just mentioned what a Morehouse man is. And so as we know, like you said, the Morehouse man is not monolithic. And so with conversations around race, DEI, and all of those things coming to light more prominently, what does, in your eyes, what does the role of the Morehouse man look like today?
Yeah, this concept of a Morehouse man, it is something that has been at work for decades, across generations, and Morehouse as an amazing institution that has been able to cultivate something from the students that it receives during the time that students study at Morehouse, produce men who go out and just contribute in a positive way to affect change in society. There's magic there. How do we actually codify exactly what that means? You mentioned something in your question that also points to a diversity that we experience within Morehouse College. And that's something that many people don't see the full appreciation of that diversity of people coming from all walks of life, different social, economic, geographic, cultural backgrounds, but being able to come to Morehouse and jail and be a part of that enrichment and growth of the students. But thinking about what a Morehouse man is and what a Morehouse man represents and what the world can expect of graduates, there are a couple of things that come to mind that I will articulate. One, the highest level of academic preparation. Being true to our mission, Morehouse educates its students in a world-class manner. So as people go on to graduate school, as people go on into the workforce, Morehouse men will arrive prepared and ready, of course, to continue to grow, but bringing along all the knowledge that they've received during their college years. There's something else, though. There's something more. And that is a understanding, awareness, and commitment to values that ensure that Morehouse men are contributing to society, contributing to communities, doing work that is needed to help the human condition in so many ways. And so those values will include things like compassion, integrity, things like truth, something in today's society that needs to be upheld, needs to be articulated as an important value and aspect of leadership and service. And so I feel like Morehouse is really intentional about cultivating many of those qualities in addition to the high standards of academic preparation that we achieve.
Absolutely. Now, you spoke a very powerful word just now. You said intentional. And, of course, as a journalist, we do research. And so you have a background in mental health. And so now as president, coming back home, how will you be intentional in making sure that students are, well prepared for as mentally so that that way they can go out into the world and do those things that you mentioned?
Absolutely. I was a math major at Morehouse.
Wow.
And came to Morehouse deciding to major in math without a clear idea of where that would take me.
Yeah.
Began doing my pre-med requirements, and that pathway took me to the field of biostatistics that really brought together my quantitative interest with the ability to contribute and make improvements in health. And I will comment that pivotal moment for me in learning about biostatistics and epidemiology and public health came at the hands of a Morehouse man who himself had been a math major at Morehouse, who was working at the Centers for Disease Control. I was a student at the time and wrapping up my freshman year. And that opened a door that would ultimately determine the pathway again for my graduate education and my work. And so through that work, ultimately led to studying mental health and other neurological diseases and understanding the neural underpinnings for things like major depressive disorder, for social anxiety disorder. And so there's an awareness that I've gained in some of the risk factors, some of the familial factors that go along with that. Coming back as president, as times have also evolved, what that would help inform for me is first an overall awareness of how pervasive mental health issues are.
Yeah.
Many of which go undiagnosed, and making sure that we as an institution are prepared to support students who face mental health challenges so that we have resources in place so people can identify help or assistance as needed. To ensure that there is an understanding and awareness even across the student body.
Yeah.
Often the first signs may not show up in a clinic, but they may show up in a residence hall. And so to make sure that there's an overall awareness in the student body so that brother to brother, there may be some encouragement to go seek help or support if necessary. So those are some of the things that I hope to build off of. And as I do my assessment at Morehouse, I know and pleased that there are already some things in place, but we'll want to do what I can to help bolster and strengthen those to meet the needs of our students.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So one of my final questions before we get up out of here, how do you plan to engage alumni? As you spoke, Morehouse Man inspired you. And so how do you plan to engage alumni and donors to help shape Morehouse's future?
Yeah. One of the greatest resources that Morehouse has is its alumni base. It's a very appreciative group and base, a base that's very grateful for what Morehouse has given to the many Morehouse men who've had their lives shaped by this journey through this wonderful institution. You see displays of it at certain times of the year, the pilgrimage back to campus for homecoming, where people come from all over the country to convene and to re-experience the brotherhood. And so it's a wonderful resource, and one that I will look again to try to leverage in very direct and explicit ways. And we have alumni working all over the country that are already actively involved in trying to steer and direct prospective students to Morehouse who would benefit from coming to Morehouse for their college experience. I also want to engage alumni and really challenge alumni on the giving, the philanthropy, and being donors to help to support an institution that has given so much to them, so that in turn, that opportunity may be available for current and prospective students.
Yes, sir. Well, President Bowman, thank you for taking the time out to stop by and talk to the Maroon Tiger today. We appreciate your transparency and your clarity, and we're excited about what the future at the house looks like. And in a time when higher education faces uncertainty, causing numerous of questions, conversations like this still reminds us that vision still resonates. To our audience, thank you for taking the time to listen and for always caring about the future of Morehouse College. Until next time, for the Maroon Tiger, I'm Joshua Bass. Stay informed, stay engaged.